Southwest Missouri authorities investigate a fire at a grocery store and mosque.
Lawmakers are back in Washington after President Trump signed a massive COVID rescue package. I'm Skyler Henry on Capitol Hill as Democrats are still pushing to get more money for Americans.
Holiday shopping may be over, but the return season is just starting. I'm Danya Backus with advice from experts on how to take items back.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
2 people have been taken to the hospital following a fire at a Knoll, Missouri grocery store and adjacent mosque. This is KOAM News at 5. The call came in around 7 this morning about a fire at the African grocery store on the 300 block of Main Street. Fire chief says 3 people were inside at the time. A firefighter and another person were taken to the hospital. Investigators believe the fire started in the back of the store, then spread to the adjoining mosque. The fire chief says they do not know the cause of the fire, but says it does not appear to be suspicious. 6 fire departments from McDonald and Benton County responded to that fire. After nearly a week's delay, President Trump signed the government spending and COVID relief bill averting a government shutdown. But the work of Congress is not over. Today, House Democrats will push a vote on the president's demand for increased stimulus checks. Skyler Henry reports from Capitol Hill.
The House will be in order.
The House is set to vote on a bill to increase direct stimulus payments from $600 to $2,000, one day after President Trump finally signed the COVID relief bill into law.
It really is a disgrace.
The president's sudden shift on the bill brings relief to many financially strapped Americans, but his delay resulted in a 1-week lapse in unemployment benefits for more than 14 million recipients. House lawmakers are also preparing to vote to override the president's veto of the critical defense bill that funds the U.S. military. The Senate is expected to hold a veto override vote on Tuesday.
Senate Republicans have not committed to bringing up a vote on increased stimulus payments. Senate Democrats are calling on President Trump to persuade them.
Today I am telling Donald Trump, don't just talk about it, act. These Senate Republicans have followed you through thick and thin. Get them now to act and support the $2,000 checks.
President Trump played another round of golf Monday in South Florida. Meanwhile, President-elect Joe Biden continues to work on his transition from Delaware. Mr. Biden and Vice President-elect Harris met virtually with members of his national security and foreign policy teams. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The president sent a list of demands to lawmakers along with signing the COVID relief bill, which include voting on increased stimulus payments, reviewing protections for tech companies, and looking into his claims of election fraud. With a second round of stimulus checks in the works, many people are wondering how COVID relief funding will impact their taxes. One of the biggest questions on people's minds is whether they'll have to pay any of that stimulus money back. The short answer is no. That money is tax-free and yours to keep whether you normally get back a refund or not. However, a CPA in Joplin is reminding people that unemployment benefits are taxable income.
I've got one client that got like $31,000, nothing withheld. So people are going to be surprised how much their refund is either cut back or that they owe money, because when they declare that unemployment as income because of the extra amount the federal government put in, that they're going to end up having to pay income taxes on that.
Tonight at 10, we're going to address some tax questions from a Miami school teacher. Nick Kelly joins us now with a first look at the weather. Hi, Nick.
Hey, Dal, we've had a pretty quiet Monday all around, but a colder Monday after we spent much of this weekend, Saturday and Sunday to be precise, with temperatures in the lower to middle 60s. But mostly cloudy skies definitely made an impact on temperatures today, and it's setting the stage for a winter weather advisory clipping our far northwestern counties, including Greenwood County, Woodson County, and also Coffee and Anderson until 11 o'clock Tuesday morning. Nothing underneath the cloud cover yet, even though the radar is suggesting some moisture is trying to reach down to the ground. But we still need to saturate the atmosphere a little more before we see the main storm system itself working from the west. And we'll have to deal with likely several days of rain and possible wintry weather chances. In the meantime, though, it's cold, mid to upper 30s across the board. A few of our southern counties trying to hold on near 40. But it's going to be a cold night with temperatures ultimately back near the freezing mark. And our next storm system, it's a bit of a doozy. We'll break it all down for you here in just a bit now.
All right, we'll see you soon. Thanks, Nick. Federal officials are checking into hundreds of tips and leads in hopes of finding a motive to the bombing that damaged dozens of buildings and injured 3 people in Nashville on Christmas Day. Surveillance videos captured the sheer power of the Christmas morning blast. Federal officials say 63-year-old Anthony Quinn Warner was behind it, and they found his remains at the blast site. The RV exploded outside an AT&T communications hub, knocking out cell and Wi-Fi service from Tennessee to Alabama. One source tells CBS News Warner's late father once worked for AT&T. Investigators are also looking into whether Warner may have been influenced by online conspiracy theories about 5G technology. Still ahead, the top medical stories of 2020.
From the coronavirus pandemic to immunotherapy for a peanut allergy, I'm Danya Backus with a look at the year in health.
Plus, a new recommendation concerning antibiotics for kids. Those stories just ahead in Health Watch. The race to vaccinate Americans against COVID-19 is well underway, with nearly 2 million coronavirus vaccine doses already administered. That's according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's COVID data tracker. The totals include both Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. Officials say the number of people who've received their first vaccine dose is likely higher, as doses distributed appear to be outpacing doses administered. It's attributed to lags in data reporting, as many hospitals are still setting up their vaccine processes and staggering vaccinations among staff. As of Saturday, 1 in 1,000 Americans has died from COVID-19. That's based on data from the U.S. Census Bureau and Johns Hopkins University. The first reported case of COVID-19 was in January of 2020, and the first death was the following month. Now the U.S. has more than 18 million cases and more than 330,000 deaths. Hospitals and governments are bracing for yet another surge in the new year following the holidays. The American Academy of Pediatrics is out with a new policy statement on antibiotics. The organization says stewardship programs are effective at cutting down unnecessary prescriptions, and adds that about half of the prescriptions for antibiotics given to children outside of hospitals are considered inappropriate. Even people who consider themselves to be casual smokers might be addicted. Researchers at Penn State found that many people who smoke just 1 to 4 cigarettes per day or fewer meet the criteria for nicotine addiction and should be considered for treatment. The coronavirus pandemic has taken more than 1.7 million lives around the world in 2020. Reporter Danya Backus has a look at the year in health.
The 2020 coronavirus pandemic triggered a health crisis that sickened millions and killed hundreds of thousands.
I have been through many public health crises before, but this is the toughest one we have ever faced as a nation.
The toll on healthcare workers on the front lines, unimaginable.
I would go home and go straight to the shower. Part of this was to protect myself and my family, but the other part was so I could go cry in the shower and finally release for the day.
The virus was tricky, with young and asymptomatic people behind more than half of transmissions. Some COVID long haulers continue to deal with effects months later, from cardiovascular problems, chronic pain, extreme fatigue, and brain fog.
I have really bad joint pain. I still have this pressure in my chest. I've also had a lot of confusion.
COVID-19 affected a disproportionate number of Black and Hispanic patients, and also continues to have a big impact on mental health in many age groups. The pandemic launched a global race for a vaccine, with Pfizer and Moderna leading the pack. Vaccinations began in the U.S. in December. A CDC panel recommended healthcare workers and nursing home residents are the first to receive the vaccine.
I hope this marks the beginning to the end of a very painful time in our history.
The 2019-2020 flu season got off to an early and unusual start, with flu B viruses dominating, followed by a second wave of flu A H1N1. There were about 38 million cases, 405,000 hospitalizations, and 22,000 deaths. The CDC reported 1 in 54 children in the United States has been diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder. With suicide rates rising, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline was turned into a 3-digit number. Dialing 988 will instantly connect callers with trained counselors. And the FDA approved the first treatment for food allergies. Oral immunotherapy helped children and teens with a severe peanut allergy tolerant to the equivalent of about 2 peanuts. Danya Backus, CBS News.
CDC is investigating reports of multisystem inflammatory syndrome in children, a rare but serious condition associated with COVID-19. There are more than 1,200 cases and more than 20 deaths. From the coronavirus pandemic to Black Lives Matter to the record-breaking hurricane season, we're going to look at the top national stories that made headlines this year tomorrow night on KOAM News at 10. Nick Kelly returns next with his complete forecast, and a little bit later some expert tips before you return or exchange those holiday gifts.
Temperatures today turned quite a bit colder after we stayed in the lower to middle 60s for highs for both Saturday and Sunday after a cold Christmas holiday. And again, the numbers don't lie. 60 at Joplin Regional yesterday, upper 20s this morning, and the best we could do was upper 30s this afternoon so far, all because of mostly cloudy skies and definitely a colder air mass in place. We see plenty of those clouds. Looking to the east from the station's rooftop, 37 at Joplin Regional. Feels like the freezing mark, though, with that northeast breeze, still relatively light at 6 miles per hour. Everyone, though, starting to drop back into the mid to upper 30s, 36 in Nevada, the 39 in Miami. A couple spots south of Grand Lake trying to hold on to some lower 40s, but we're going to see everybody drop back through the mid 30s by the midnight hour and down near the freezing mark as we head toward Tuesday morning, just in time for our next storm system to start rolling in. Out ahead of it, we have a winter weather advisory clipping Greenwood, Woodson, Coffee, and Anderson counties on the Kansas side until 11 o'clock Tuesday morning because of our next storm system on the way. Even though the radar suggested earlier that we were seeing some echoes showing rain or snow, it's still relatively dry in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, but eventually that's going to get saturated and we will be set for rain chances to begin early Tuesday as our next storm system really gains steam off to the west. You can see the front centered at the surface right on the four corners in the desert southwest, and the main upper low centered over Nevada. That's going to help push not only the colder air our way, but the storm system itself. That will certainly start to head our way as well. So we're dry for the evening. Nothing to worry about, but definitely plan on cloudy skies and definitely plan on it being cold as we see temperatures ultimately drop back into the lower 30s. And with some spots near freezing as we see rain chances pick up as early as 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. Some of us will be starting out with rain for the morning commute. Others could see a little bit of freezing rain, maybe some sleet mixing in, but this is not set to last long. Once we get past 9 or 10 o'clock, temperatures will be warm enough for the rest of the day with maybe some rain chances before lunchtime and then picking up again late in the afternoon. But even though it's going to be a cold start with rain and freezing rain for some tomorrow morning with lows near 33, will be a 45 by noon and afternoon highs right around 50. But that's just one part of this tricky storm system that we'll be keeping an eye on. So once again, we'll be watching for rain and freezing rain chances to start your Tuesday morning out before we deal with just rain chances for the rest of your Tuesday. In terms of what to expect, though, as far as, well, rain goes here, maybe 1 inch to 2 inches with the system continuing on through Wednesday at first glance. But in terms of the ice, though, keeping anything under 1/10 of an inch. And then we are going to see rain chances start Wednesday out. And then as temperatures rapidly drop throughout the day, it's going to be a potential rain-snow mix with maybe some areas picking up less than 1 inch. So not seeing too much in the way of accumulating snow with this first little glimpse of wintry mix Tuesday or Wednesday. But here comes Thursday. The backside of the system could bring freezing rain chances our way Thursday, and then it's just a mess for New Year's Day. So this is quite an interesting storm system to keep an eye on, but sticking with Doug's pattern, though, we're chilly for the next few days with highs in the lower 50s, then cold for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Then once we get to Saturday down, we're going to calm things down and keep quiet for the weekend.
Quiet will be nice after a cold start.
It certainly will.
Thanks, Nick. Mizzou football will not be making the trip to Nashville for its bowl game. MU Athletics said in a press release the Tigers are pausing all team activities until January 2nd. That means they will not play Iowa in Wednesday's Music City Bowl due to COVID-19 cases rising among Mizzou football players. MU's roster has been depleted this season due to opt-outs, injuries, coronavirus issues, and players deciding to move on to play professionally. The Tigers are now going to finish 5-5 in 2020. Just ahead, tips for gift returns. First, though, we recognize a local veteran of the U.S. Navy. Seneca, Missouri native Bill Use served from 1970 to 1975, stationed at a naval hospital in San Diego. Seaman Bill Use, a four-state hero. Ambassadors to the European Union have unanimously approved a Brexit trade deal that was struck with the United Kingdom last week. The deal, which ended 9 months of negotiations, allows for the new trade agreement to be implemented on January 1st. The agreement prevents automatic tariffs, border checks, and other disruptions between the UK and the EU. Japan plans to introduce a mobile tracking app for overseas travelers. It's part of an effort to stem the spread of COVID-19 before the Tokyo Olympics. All visitors will be required to install an app that uses GPS to track their movements in the country. The app is still under development, but is expected to be released before the Tokyo Olympics this summer. 1 in 5 American workers is concerned about retirement. That's according to a new survey from the Transamerica Institute. The report shows confidence has dropped during the pandemic, and only 27% are very confident that they'll be able to fully retire with a comfortable lifestyle. Some of the holiday presents you received might have missed the mark. If you're looking to return a gift, reporter Danya Bacchus has some tips.
The COVID-related changes we saw during the shopping season continue as people start taking items back. Many stores are enforcing limits on the number of shoppers.
They're taking time to let us in one at a time.
The good news, plenty of retailers are giving consumers more time because of the pandemic.
They're extending their return windows. So pay attention to Amazon, Apple, Bed Bath & Beyond, Best Buy. All of the big stores have extended their return window.
Sarah Skirball from Retail Me Not says keep receipts and understand the store's policy.
What condition does that item have to be in? Does the tag have to be on? Does it have to be in its original packaging, etc.?
If you're sending back a gift bought online, check the box for return information. Make sure to read the fine print and see if the retailer offers a free return label.
It's important to remember items shipped now may face some of the same pandemic-related delays we saw during the holidays, and it may take time to receive a credit or reimbursement.
And people looking to exchange a gift can find some low prices right now.
Items are going to be significantly discounted. So not only do stores have excess inventory from the holidays, they even have excess inventory from the fall. So you're going to find deals anywhere between 25 and up to 75% off on apparel and shoes, for example.
That can give shoppers a chance to treat themselves to a post-holiday gift. Danya Bacchus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Some retailers are offering curbside returns. Final check of the weather next. The CBS Evening News is next. Then on KOAM News at 6, reporter Kate Kelly talks with the CPA about whether COVID relief funding will impact income taxes. Plus, the Knoll Fire Chief talks about the fire at a Knoll grocery store and mosque. And we're going to hear from a Missouri mother who gave birth while she was on a ventilator battling COVID. Stay with us for CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. A new discovery made in the ancient city of Pompeii. Archaeologists working in the city, which was buried during a volcanic eruption in 79 AD, uncovered a hot food and drinks shop. They're comparing it to a modern-day street food vendor. It featured a decorated counter which showed off some of the ingredients in the food the shop sold, like rooster and duck. Archaeologists even discovered traces of almost 2,000-year-old food. No word if you could get fries with that. Let's check back in now with Nick Kelly for a final look at the weather.
We are looking okay for tonight, Dal, but freezing rain and rain chances possible Tuesday morning, then quickly jumping to 50 with rain chances for the rest of the afternoon. Then we'll just deal with rain and wintry weather and certainly colder temperatures from Wednesday all the way into the new year.
Thanks, Nick, and thank you for joining us. The CBS Evening News is next, and of course, we're going to be right back here for KOAM News at 6. We'll see you then. In the meantime, let's take care of ourselves and each other.